council meeting for the city of Columbiana. Councilman Rustin, if he'd lead us in our invocation.
Sure. Let's pray. Dear God, thank you for the opportunity to always join as a group, Lord. Thank you for the beautiful weather that we're experiencing, Lord. And I just ask you as we enter the springtime and summer season, I ask you it be good for the city and the people that's within it. God, I thank you every day for the people that protect our city and make it go on a day-to-day basis. Lord, we thank you for them and their families. And I ask you, Lord God, just be with the meeting tonight. Let the things be discussed be for the benefit of the people within the city. And Lord, just be with us tonight. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. If you'll stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And while you're looking over the agenda, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Lilly. Mizell. Rustin.
Here.
King. Here. Phillips.
Here.
Ray Mitchell.
Here. Give you a few more seconds to look at the agenda. All right. And as always, the first item is the consent agenda, which is the approval of the March 18th regular council meeting. Council has copies of the minutes. Should have had an opportunity to review those. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Okay, if not, let the record show the minutes are approved as written. And we'll start with the department reports. Chief's not here. It looks like neither is environmental, so I got both of those. There's no real changes in the fire department report other than, I want to address real quick staffing. Everybody knows we got a SAFER grant, which was for staffing and staffing assistance for fire and emergency response. And we've had a heck of a time getting that program off the ground. We've been through, we hired one recruiting and retention coordinator. He resigned before accomplishing anything. We thought we had another one who said he wanted the job, and then he has gone AWOL. Today I have spoken to the another one of the finalists that we had, and I will be meeting with her tomorrow, and hopefully we will get that program back on track. So we're almost 2 years into a 5-year program and haven't accomplished anything. So we've got to get the ball rolling on this thing. This individual we went with people who had firefighting experience, but what this program is all about is recruiting and retention and staffing. And since the firefighters didn't do the job, this person that I'm talking to tomorrow is a background in recruiting and retention. So hopefully she can get the program going. Any questions from the fire department? Okay, library.
All right, library is looking good. We are back at full staff. Our part-timer started tonight. He's a quick one, I started training him at 3:30 today, and he's already picked up on so much, so we're excited to have him aboard. We had an estimate of 1,148 visitors for the month of March. I know last month I didn't have February's stats, so we had $42,742 worth of services in February. The March stats came out about 2 o'clock this afternoon, so I don't have those as of yet. I will have those hopefully next month. I was at Elvin Hill on March 21st as a mystery reader in a kindergarten room. They asked all kinds of questions about the library. They were excited about it. I did also visit Elvin Hill, I think the week before, or 2 weeks before, for Read Across America, and I visited 5 third grade classrooms that day. They were so excited to have someone new in their classroom reading to them, and we had fun. Other than that, every year we order caterpillars that we raise to turn into butterflies. They came today, so we are excited to have them with us again. They are really tiny right now, but they will grow to about an inch, inch and a half, and then turn into butterflies. So we're excited to see their growth. So yeah, that's what's going on at the library.
How long is that process? The
Um,
metamorphosis there.
about 4 weeks.
Wow, that fast.
So, oh yeah, it's real quick. They will sit there and they'll nibble on the food in the little container they're in. They will form their chrysalis on the paper, and we'll put them in a net, and they'll come out as butterflies. And then we'll have a special story time, and talk about butterflies and let them go.
Is Mystery Reader kind of like the Masked Singer? Do you have a costume?
I did not have a costume. I did not. They just didn't know it was me. So.
Any other questions for Jennifer?
No, but I will say I went to the library for the first time in a lot of years, and it is amazing what they have done there. It's like totally different than what it used to be. I mean, it's exciting. I really enjoyed it.
Well, good.
I wish I was a
She'll be
kid.
coming back.
Yeah,
I think she's going to volunteer.
I love reading.
Okay, environmental services. There's really no change from the last meeting here. One of the things that I did want to do is provide an update on the upgrades to the sewer treatment plant, and I put that on my mayor's report slide. So I'll just skip that for now, and I'll cover that when we get to that part. So any other questions on environmental? Community affairs and senior services.
All right, so there are lots of fun family things happening in April. The Bunny Tea is this Saturday, Touch a Truck is the 12th, and the Liberty Day pageant is the 26th. So lots of fun things happening. And then something really fun that has been finalized today is they're going to shoot a Hallmark movie in Columbiana on Main Street and in several of the shops on Main Street. So it's really fun. They'll be out filming on the 27th. That's a Sunday. So it should be really fun.
Have they communicated with the shops that they?
We finalized everything today, so yeah, but we will. I've already talked to Jim because they're going to use his parking lot for the crew to park in his back parking lot.
Okay.
So.
All right. Any questions
And it
for Al?
really should not be disruptive because it's a Sunday.
Okay.
Senior services, the senior center served 1,100 meals in March. The patio project, all of the demo is complete. They delivered those trusses this afternoon. And now we're just waiting on people. So the crew to start. So they keep, give, a few more days. So, but it'll get done soon. Grand Hall, those are all the events in April. And that's about it. So, yeah. Spring.
Questions for Ally?
The Bunny Tea again, is that all online or can you buy tickets at the door?
You can buy them at the door. Or you can come volunteer for free.
Will the costume fit me?
Any other questions? Okay, did we have any boards meet? It looked like, did the planning commission meet?
No, we did our report last time, so we meet next week.
Nothing from the beautification board?
Well, I have a few things. This month was kind of crazy because everybody thought we were going to meet last night, and it was the 31st of May, so we actually meet next Monday night. But I just haven't been in a while, so I was just going to update y'all what a success Arbor Day was. I mean, we gave over 400 saplings away, and I don't really understand. I mean, it's a great event, and people come from everywhere, and we had very few left over, but people will get excited about that. Allie mentioned the Bunny Tea. It is this Saturday. We're trying something new from 10:30 until 12. That way we can get them hyped up on sugar, and they can go eat lunch and go home and take a nap. And maybe it won't make us be there all day, but we'll be decorating Friday, and then we'll be there on Saturday. There was a little bit of confusion with a couple of events planned at the same time. during our bunny tea that I did sort of want to address. The bunny tea is a fundraiser for the beautification board. We've been doing it for, gosh, this is my 5th year, but I know Leanne had done it for several years before that. And we usually raise $2,000 to $2,500. Y'all know the beautification board's budget at the end of usually July. We're starting to run real low on funds, so we do these fundraisers, the Christmas tour of homes, the Easter bunny tea, anything like that, to raise some extra money to get us through fall. And somehow there was another event planned that was a very similar bunny event down on Main Street that was a free event. So that was a little bit disheartening, because we sort of felt like it might draw away from some of the people that would buy into and continue to come to our tea. And, you know, I just want to always try to work with organizations, and fundraisers, I feel like, should always have precedence. You know, we would never try to plan a fundraiser or a free event during another organization's event because it would take away from. So I just feel like y'all sort of need to be aware of that, and it just sort of needs to be a collaboration. We need to be cross-posting and supporting each other and things like that. And it was very disheartening to realize that something like that had been organized during our event. So we definitely want people to come to Columbiana. We want them to stay. We want them to shop. But we don't want anything to take away from something that is raising money to help us continue to put back into our town. And that's what we use those funds for. They don't just go into the general funds for us to never see again. So that was a little bit disheartening.
That's this year, not last year? This
Yeah,
year?
That was scheduled for April the 5th,
Okay.
during our bunny tea. So, anyway, there will be another little event. The time was changed, so, now go down to Main Street after the Easter bunny tea and do all of those, you know, nice little events and things like that. But, you know, I just think that we should set a precedent that any type of organization should always show some, I don't know the right word to say, but we should always try to make the priority a fundraiser. I think that the beautification board works really, really hard. Y'all see how hard we work. We're a board of volunteers, so, you know, we could be doing other things Saturday. I could be going to San Antonio. But we're really excited too. We are planning our first ever garden tour. So we are in the process of doing that. It's gonna be a spring home tour of different homeowners' gardens, and we're trying to get it down to the first or the second weekend in June. But we're real excited about that. A lot of other towns do that, and you go, instead of the Christmas tour where everyone's decorated for Christmas and that kind of stuff, it'll be a fundraiser, and we will go and tour their landscaping and their plants and things like that. And that's something that we feel strongly about as a beautification board. We're always doing plants and trees and trying to beautify our town, and this is kind of more of a fundraiser that we want to see be real successful. So we're excited about that. It'll be the first one.
Is there a date for that one yet?
We've got 5 homes confirmed.
Okay.
We're kind of waiting on the 6th home to decide between the first or the second Saturday in June.
Yeah.
But it'll be one of those 2 weekends. So that way everything will be pretty and blooming, and the pollen will be gone.
Okay.
I was gonna ask though, if some of our budgeted funds, are we able to do some more things, because we're really about to get into our busy season, and I'm trying to hold
Yes.
off on the frost. Okay,
Yes.
it's about to be plant buying season.
Yeah. Just let us know what your intentions are, what you intend to spend, and there shouldn't be anything to keep you from going and getting what you need to get.
Just making sure.
Yeah.
'Cause we're ready to, this is about to be our busy season.
At the end of the day, I think you order this, you tell Charlene what you want, she puts a PO for it, is that how it works?
Or me or Francis.
Okay. All right,
Thank you.
And I have to say too, basically, you guys, the beautification board is what's made Columbia and Main Street. It's awesome. It's always pretty. We have so many people talking about it now. And how nice it looks and how much they see the work that you're doing. And they see you out there, and that means a lot. So, yeah, we all need to work together. Definitely.
Do you mind if I speak to the Main Street event and wear my Columbia and Main Street hat for just a moment? It was not an event to hurt the Bunny Tea at all. We appreciate the beautification board. You guys do a wonderful job. Columbiana is gorgeous. I mean, I just said that a Hallmark movie is going to film in Columbiana, and part of that is because it's so beautiful here. For several years, Main Street has hidden eggs. They did it for a long time every day of April, or the month that Easter was in, leading up to Easter. And that's a lot of work to hide eggs every single day. It is not, there is no Easter bunny coming. It is not a true egg hunt where kids will run around, like there's a start line and you hunt the eggs. It is literally eggs hidden around town with coupons for our businesses in the eggs. And so it is not even an event in any comparison that would be competitive. It is literally just to get people into the shops to spend money.
so, let me jump in. So did you talk to Kathy, and is that how the time got changed? I do think, I know that the Easter Bunny Tea, we had been talking about it here for upcoming events for a long time. And the egg hunt thing was something that sort of popped up after the fact. So, again, it all goes back to coordination and collaboration. At the end of the day, Main Street's an independent organization, so I can't say, hey, no, you can't do it. If all the merchants on Main Street want to do that and the Main Street organization wants to do that, I'm certainly happy to suggest that they make some changes. But I would prefer that you work it out together, and I think that happened. And so next time, maybe we can try to
It
avoid
was not
this.
meant to hurt feelings. It was
I
really
understand.
just
I don't think anybody meant to hurt
to
anybody's
capitalize
feelings
on the people.
at all.
Well, it would be like the beautification board or someone else hosting a free event, closing down Main Street and having a free dinner event during their farm to table fundraiser.
We're not closing Main Street. Nothing's getting closed. It is literally like eggs hidden in stores and like on the sidewalk. Not anything other than that.
Okay. All right. We hear you. We hear you both. Okay. Any questions for Lisa before we move on? No other board reports? Okay. All right. So, an issue was brought to our attention, the council, Saturday about food trucks on Main Street. And I think the first that I saw about it was the email that Councilman Rustin sent to all of the council members. So I think I'll give the floor to Councilman Rustin, if you don't mind, and let you start the discussion on that, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I don't know much. Well, I was out of town Friday. Saturday, I was driving to Piggly Wiggly and glanced over to my right, and there was food trucks there. Now, I hate to admit this in front of the chief, but as I'm driving through Main Street, my eyes gravitated toward these food trucks, and I wasn't watching what was in front of me. And that was sort of like, so one, I think in my mind, it was a hazard just because I wasn't looking over there. Two, I didn't know anything about that area. Being here for a few years, I know we've designated some areas in the city for food trucks, and that wasn't one of them. And I was just curious. And again, I was just bringing the awareness to, because I didn't know about it, and I was just asking, did we change that philosophy? I knew that we didn't shut down Main Street for whatever reason. The street was blocked off, so I just didn't know. So therefore, I thought as a role for the council person to just bring awareness to anybody if anybody knew about it.
Yeah.
So, so obviously nobody knew about it on the council, I don't guess. So really, that was my thing, is just sort of bring some awareness there, because, you know, if you can remember when we started, the Cattywampus people are here, and so when we started this conversation of approving that, I specifically asked in that meeting, or is anybody gonna be congregating out at that intersection? And I was told no. That's what we were told, no. Because food was not gonna be served there. Now, I think we can all agree that we want every business in town to be successful. I think that's bar none. But I do, just based on my example in that intersection, I was just a little shocked that there was one right there in Main Street. Now, if the road is shut down and we've got events there and all that stuff to where the traffic's not coming through, I think that's another situation. Liberty Day or whatever. From my seat, when I glanced over there, my example was just a hazard for me, and I really didn't think about it until, had somebody walk across the street, I wouldn't have saw it, and that's bad to say. Or if somebody would have turned the wrong way, I would have never saw them, and that could be just there. So in Ricky's opinion, I just wanted to bring awareness to that, because years ago we brought up the idea of food trucks are everywhere, and you know, are we monitoring food trucks effectively all over town now? Probably not to where we intended to years ago. I know we put the overflow parking lot down there. I know we've got the alley here on nights we shut stuff down. I know the ballparks do food trucks sometime. We've had the conversation of food trucks being on personal property. Is that good, or is that legal, or is that not good? So we've had this discussion for a long time. But we also had the discussion too, I bring in the situation of, again, Main Street was not shut down. And I was surprised I didn't get any calls from other business owners today asking, why was a food truck allowed on Main Street when we got establishments open and all that stuff. I didn't get any of those calls, thank goodness, but I just think from an awareness standpoint, I thought it was good that the council knew that. That's really where I came from. I think that's a busy intersection. We've talked about intersection for a long time. And we've got the map here of the things we've designated. Did that need to be changed? I don't know. Do we do something exclusively for food trucks one night a week on Main Street? I don't know. But that particular situation just sort of if nothing else, it caught me off guard. And it actually just, to my point, it took my eyes off the road. And again, I may eat at those food trucks. I don't know. But that was the thing. Just simply, I didn't know, and I thought that as a council should know that if something had changed and we don't know. So that's where we are.
So my response was
Yeah.
pretty short. I just said, no,
Right.
I didn't know either.
Yeah.
Vicki, you had do you have any comments? You had
Yeah, I
responded.
kind of think, and looking at this, I believe that we need to actually meet and rework all of this and make a decision as to how we want to handle it. Because I did have a couple of calls from people,
Mhm.
My main thing when I went by was the cones were there, but they were kind of out in the road. If they were moved over further, I would have paid as much attention, but it's kind of, the phone calls I got from two different residents, I'm at work now, I guess, but two different citizens here in town was basically, one was about the cones, and they had to get out into the other lane to get around. And then somebody had walked off of a step behind the food truck, which was into the road. So I didn't see that, so I wasn't there, but I just think we need to have a meeting and discuss this, because this is old.
Well, that's a good
This
segue.
is definitely not.
That's a
today.
good segue, because this is our ordinance. And not only does it need to be updated, we don't follow what we have. And this is out of date as well. So this is what the ordinance is. So a mobile vending unit is basically a food truck, but it could also be a trailer, like I think one of the photographs that I saw, it was a trailer. The thing that we don't do is our ordinance says that in addition to a business license, that the food trucks have to have a permit as well. There's a permitting process, and there's a fee for that permit, so we don't collect that fee. We're not requiring the permits. They all do have business licenses, and they do collect sales tax. And I don't believe that was an issue with the food truck that was here on Saturday night. And this permit that the city is supposed to give them, along with the business license, their health department license, it's supposed to be on display in the food truck or trailer along with this map that says this is where food trucks are allowed to be. And like I said, this is out of date. In fact, the only area on this is for the overflow parking lot across from the courthouse for food, mobile food vendors. Everything else is for carts, which is not considered a mobile food vendor. And so these areas where they're allowed to operate is supposed to be specifically designated by the city council. Now, I went and looked at some, like Ricky, I want to make I want to do everything we possibly can to promote and support the businesses in Columbiana, and not do anything that would be detrimental or be considered difficult or hard. You know, safety obviously needs to be considered, and maybe that was an issue. And then there's the issue of this extra fee, because they have to pay a full business license, which is how much, Charlene?
$114.
$114, and the fee in our ordinance for the permit's $100. So those mobile food vendors would end up paying $214 in fees, essentially, to do business here. So I checked some of the surrounding cities, and that's not out of the ordinary. Alabaster's is only $50, Calera's is $100, but all of the most of the cities that I checked Birmingham as well, and most of the cities do charge that permit fee. So the question is if we change all this and update all this, you know, at what point do we go back and tell vendors who already have a business license, if we decide we're going to keep that fee, that we're going to charge them this permit fee? That could potentially be something that we want to think about. It's interesting that most of the cities, or the few that I looked at, did not allow a food truck or a trailer to actually park on a public street. With one exception, and that one I thought was interesting, is Birmingham. And there are certain areas in downtown Birmingham where they actually do allow them at certain times to be on a public street. And so that might be something that we think about. Is there a certain time that we do that? So the point is I think Vicky's right. I think we need to get together. What I'd like to do is, you know, have a team get together, look at surrounding communities, look at our existing ordinance, look at potential locations that we would certainly want to map out, talk about the fees, and then come back to us with a proposal. So I'll send out some emails and hopefully get a volunteer from the council to lead that effort. But any other discussion?
Also, you might want to check with Wilsonville, because I know they have a lot of food trucks
Uh-huh.
in their town, and so you might want to check with them and see.
I did not check them, of the ones that I checked, so I'll check them,
I
you know,
think
their
there's
ordinance.
is a actual food truck court, like Preval.
That's right by the church and across the street.
I think so.
Yes.
Where their little waterfall is.
On the other side.
Other side? Okay. Any other comments about the food trucks? Okay. All right, so this is a resolution authorizing me to sign a contract with Alabama Power for the public safety services. This is the power for the flock cameras. And we discussed this during the budgeting process when Jeff wanted to add these flock cameras. So is there anyone who'd like to introduce this resolution?
I'd like to introduce resolution 042501, authorizing the mayor to sign a contract with Alabama Power for public safety services.
Second.
Okay, and because this does require a monthly fee, let's do a roll call.
Councilmember Lilly,
Yes.
Mizell, Rustin,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell.
Yes. Okay, so the resolution passed, and we'll execute that contract with Alabama Power for the flock cameras. Any other city business that anybody want us to bring up? Actually, we just, a little redundancy here, this is where we probably should have done the food truck discussion. All right, mayor's report. So I wanted to give you a sewer project update. So a couple of pictures up here with progress of the work that's being done on the sewer treatment plant. Now, you know, when I first looked at these photographs, the first thing that came to my mind, so here are the two sewer treatment ponds, this is the one that's in work, is that, is this going to have the same capacity as our previous ponds? And the answer is yes, and it makes sense. These are kind of like a bowl, and they have sloped sides, whereas this has a vertical wall. And I have been assured, and the wall is a little bit taller than the ponds that we have today. So I've been assured that the capacity of this is the same as the capacity of that. So we're not getting something that's smaller. So they're making good progress, and it is tracking the plan. This is supposed to be essentially a 2-year, 720 days is the number of days, calendar days, that they're allotted in the contract. And they're tracking the plan. It's about 13.3% complete. It was late October when we approved, or we executed the contract with our contractor for this project. And so mid-November, they kind of got started working through what we have been billed and invoiced, I think, as of the end of February. And actually it was before the end of February, is about $2 million. So we've incurred about 13.3% of the cost of this project, and that's tracking right along with the amount of time that has elapsed. That's equivalent to 96 calendar days, which is about 3.2 months, and that's about how long they're working. So there's 624 calendar days left to get this project completed. It's 437 work days remaining. We're running, the contractor is really going at it, and we're incurring a cost of about $625,000 per month. So obviously, since the last time we got any money and any bills, this $2 million, and I think we may have actually gotten an invoice since then, I don't know, have we? And we submit that to ADEM, and we're drawing money from the ARPA grant, but that will be that was about $2.8 million, and at this rate, that's going to be expired probably in this is April, so May, June, maybe early in June. And then we'll start drawing from the SRF loan. But the amount of that's $2.775 million, and then we don't have any more money. And so that could run out by August if we continue at $625,000 a month. So I've spoken to ADEM about supplemental SRF financing and said we need, at a minimum, $3 million to get us through the end of the calendar year. I suggested let's go to $5 million to give us a buffer there. And so they're starting to work on scenarios, and those scenarios would be $3 to $5 million, or they may not. I asked them to look at just giving us the rest of the money in its entirety and letting us know what the debt service for that would be and how we would do that. But some of that money, because they are using funds that came from the bipartisan infrastructure law, may not be available for them to award before fiscal year 26, because it hasn't been appropriated, and everybody knows a lot of the funding from the Biden era has been put on hold by the Trump administration. So that could have an impact here. So hopefully, we can get the $3 to $5 million, get us through the end of the year, and then at least a portion to go beyond that. So I've also spoken to some folks and asked for some proposals on some alternative financing to see what may go there. So it's moving along at a great pace. We just need to keep the funding at pace with what we need to do to get the job done. Questions on that? Okay. Announcements.
All right, the Easter Bunny Tea is this Saturday at the Grand Hall. And then the Find Eggs on Main is from 12 to 3. So 10:30 to 12 and then 12 to 3. Touch Truck is April the 12th. Kyle Mims with Edward Jones does that. He does an incredible job. Then the 18th, we're closed for Good Friday. The 26th is the Liberty Day pageant at the Grand Hall. And then on Sunday, the 27th, they'll be filming from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on South Main.
Questions for Ally? Okay. Any public comments, questions? Yes, sir.
If I may, I just want to make sure that everyone on the council understands that I did ask permission for those food trucks from someone with the city. And I was told, yes, please respect the business hours of the courthouse, which I did. I did not allow them before 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And on Saturday and Sunday, I told them they couldn't come before 3. Someone with the city, those are not my traffic cones, those are the city of Columbiana's traffic cones. So I just want to make sure y'all know I did ask for permission. I did not try to pull anything over on anyone. Secondly, as far as congregating outside, yes, you did, Councilman Ruskin, you asked me, is anyone going to be congregating outside? I don't patrol that sidewalk, nor anyone in my business. We don't allow, if there was misconduct, I've already spoken with the chief. I said I would absolutely call immediately. I'm not going to tolerate it inside or outside, but I'm not going to go outside and patrol the sidewalk. That's just, I think that's, no one else in any business is going to go outside their business and tell people they can't stand out in front of the business. The third thing is I'd invite any of y'all to come stand inside with me and watch that intersection. I've got a kid that runs track. Bethany Hutton's son and my son almost got hit at that intersection last year because of the way cars fly through that intersection. I mean, they are like, I don't know what it takes to get a crosswalk light, but that intersection is as dangerous as any intersection in any metropolitan area from a crosswalk. The only way you walk across that crosswalk, I see these guys walking down from the 280 Reporter. I've seen multiple people come close to getting hit. The only way you know to cross the street is if the light is not in your favor. I mean, to me, that's a bigger issue than someone standing on the sidewalk, is the crossing of that intersection in all 4 directions. But I want to make sure the council understands, I did ask for permission. I know when I spoke with Ally about the entertainment district, I said, as long as we abide by the entertainment district, am I responsible for that patron when they walk out the door? And she said, no, that's the agreement between the city and the entertainment district. And I think unless something's happened that I don't know about, there's not been an issue with that. But I mean, I don't want any trouble. I want to grow commerce. I want to grow revenue for the city. The food truck that was there on Friday, he had over 60 customers on Friday, which is revenue for the city. And Charlene has been communicating back and forth with me. She's like, you gotta make sure these guys have their food permits. Don't let them do anything. They have to have their city business license. So they're generating revenue for the city. I understand the concern, but I want y'all to understand that we're not trying to do something that the city is not or was not aware of. If I'd have been told, I'd say, okay, then we can't do this.
Well, I appreciate that. And we don't want to do anything to, like I said, we want to support the businesses. But some concern was raised,
Sure,
and that's our responsibility, is to address that
No,
concern.
absolutely.
And so we're going to do that. I do encourage people to, when they have questions about things from time to time, go to our website, on the very front page, there's a little tab for ordinances. It'll take you to a search engine, and you can put food trucks or food vendors or whatever, and it'll show you this, and then you'll read that, and like I did, because I hadn't read it in a long time either, and I go, that needs some work. So we're going to work on that and try to sort this thing out, and we'll address any concerns as far as that anybody might have about safety, and try to find some locations that'll work. So we're going to take that up. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Can you wait just a minute afterwards too? I want to talk to you
Sure.
just a second.
Absolutely.
Please.
No, and I do appreciate you coming, and then my thing about just the people congregating out there, to your point, the risk is great. And again, if a group congregates outside your building, may not be affiliated with your building whatsoever.
Sure.
If they are or not, to your point, that's a very busy intersection that you just mentioned. And Lord forbid a car come through there, then it's a mass casualty event.
Well,
I mean,
the school has stopped,
Yeah.
like, they won't allow the track team to run Main Street anymore because of that.
so,
Those couple of kids almost got ran over.
and I'm even ashamed and I'm even ashamed to even say that took my eyes off the road. But out of fairness, it caught me off guard because I was like, well, what is that? You know, it's a big yellow thing, I think, you know. But I do appreciate you coming, and hopefully we can work through something to where that can bring more business to your town, to your business. But
Well, I mean, we got our permit from the county after we got the city business license. I can't remember, it's a little bit of a blur. But we have a category 3 food license. We can technically, we could prepare and serve food based off of a permit that the county provided us.
and I think you mentioned that night.
And maybe that's the direction we head, I don't know, I mean, I don't want to do anything that the city doesn't want. But I also wanna do what I can do to promote the business.
Sure.
And it just generates revenue for the city.
Yes, absolutely.
I understand. And we just want to do it in a way that's, safe and compliant. And right now, the way our ordinance is written, it's hard for anybody to comply with, so we need to fix that. Any other comments?
It's not about the food trucks, but it is about that intersection. I mean, I'm downtown a lot on the golf cart or, in the flower bed. And I know at one time y'all discussed no right on red. So what's the status of that?
We haven't moved forward with that. There seemed to be some ambivalence. That was my opinion, so I didn't take it any further. What are your thoughts about it?
I think that would be very beneficial to that intersection right there because so many people are crossing, especially during the day. And I don't know if it would actually affect the food truck, but it probably would. But if people are trying to cross and someone is turning right, I mean, a lot of times people are already pulled up to the crosswalk.
Yeah, that's my biggest concern is that they block the crosswalks, and I even one time, as I was walking across, when the sheriff had the cross, and I kind of banged on his hood, he didn't like it, but I wanted him to know that.
I've been in the flower beds right there beside Sweet Sweets, and people take that right turn on red, and people are trying to cross, and people run in the flower beds too. So if I'm standing there, I mean, it's dangerous.
Let me qualify what I said just a minute ago. It wasn't Sheriff San Diego, it was one of the deputies. So when I say the sheriff, but anyway.
But is your suggestion from all 4 lanes?
I think that at that intersection, there should be no right on red,
I agree.
I do too.
I agree.
for sure.
It's because I've come through there at the leaders,
Yes.
and when I'm turning, like somebody's there to walk across the road, and it like,
Where the sidewalk comes out, the way it was when it was restructured and all that, it's out further closer to the road. So people, especially if there's a vehicle pulling a trailer, they're going across the brick into the flower bed, and that's technically where people are standing to try to cross at the crosswalk. So to me, no right on red right there would be beneficial for everybody.
Well, it's to the point at Leader's Corner that they've destroyed the brick on that corner.
Yep.
The brick are mashed down into the ground.
that's right.
I wanted to ask you one question about your crosswalk light. Are you talking about a walk, no walk sign?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, and the right on the red, what I've seen, the same thing she's seen. If they see the light red and they're gonna they don't come to a stop, they come to a rolling stop. And then I seen a gentleman on Cowboy Day, like, I don't know how he didn't get hit. He jumped back away from the street because of what she's talking about.
Well, yeah, I'm the one that brought it up. I agree. I think it needs to be done, but at the time I brought it up, it didn't seem to be a lot of enthusiasm for it.
With,
So just let it go.
Can we make that decision, even though if it being a city street?
Yes.
Okay.
All we gotta do is put a sign up, pretty much.
Okay.
So there is a process that you have to go by, and you have to, and I actually asked the chiefs, the police department to go take some, if you deem it's a safety hazard, then the city council can say, yeah, you can make it a no right on red. So there's a process we have to go through. I don't think it has to be an ordinance. It maybe does, but it might be just a resolution. But I'll check it out again.
And Chief, how would you enforce that?
Yeah, so you have to see it.
I'll volunteer.
Citizens arrest.
Yes.
Call her Lisa Pyle.
Did you say lower the speed limit? So we can lower, we've talked a lot about roads and lowering speed limit, so we can lower the speed limit on a city
Yes,
right there too?
we can. Okay, any other comments? Yes, sir.
Yeah, pass this out to the council.
Sure, what is it?
It is a reintroduction for the Homeowners and Bank Protection Act of 2007.
Okay, do you have one for everybody or just this one?
For the read.
All right, let them share one and, oh, I got two here. Oh, I have three, never mind. Sorry. Here, pass that.
And what's your name?
Wyatt McGee.
Okay,
I want to speak on an issue that actually has national and international implications. I'd like to call attention to a piece of emergency firewall legislation that circulated the United States in 2007, in which I hope this body will lobby our congressman to introduce in the national legislature. The Homeowners and Bank Protection Act. I am a political organizer for Promethean Action. I work for Promethean Action. We're right now in the midst of a national mobilization. Right now, the financial ash is falling on our heads, huge losses, billions of dollars. We're looking at nationwide, millions of homeowners being foreclosed on. People typically aren't aware that 60% of the assets of all the banks in the United States are tied up in this housing bubble, so it is a financial collapse. The Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, and other central banks have thus far had a policy of providing whatever liquidity was necessary to plug the holes in bank balance sheets. The exact same process that was done in Germany in 1923, when you had a hyperinflation blowout there. This is something that is systemic. It's a global problem. The good news is we have a solution, the Homeowners and Bank Protection Act. I'm asking you to take action by passing a resolution in support of the Homeowners and Bank Protection Act 2007. So here are the three provisions of the act. Freezing foreclosures, setting up a system of rental payments, and a transition period where the banks can be recapitalized to actually begin to fund infrastructure projects and other productive investments. For the federal government to freeze these foreclosures, as we had done in 1933 under President Franklin Roosevelt. Rewrite mortgages, this is the big one. Rewrite mortgages to the fair value of the home, not just changing the interest rates, change the principal in it. One thing you have to do, what's inevitable, is to re-regulate the banking system. Congress must establish a federal agency to place the federal and state chartered banks under protection. State governors shall assume the administrative responsibilities for implementing the program, including the rental assessments to designated banks, with the federal government providing the necessary credits and guarantees to assure a successful transition. What we have proposed is only a reproposal of something that Mr. President Franklin Roosevelt did. That's what the Homeowners and Bank Protection Act does. It would be the first step declaring that we are in a crisis and declaring that the number one national obligation is to protect the U.S. population. Keep society stable in the face of an economic crisis. And then from there, we need to move with a swift policy nationally away from a system of globalization and cheap labor and back towards investment and making the United States a productive part of the world economy again. Send a message to Congress. Use the power of government to protect populations during a chaotic economic crisis. I recently returned from Washington, D.C., where I organized on behalf of this policy. But if you look on the back, on the second sheet, you'll see support from across the nation to create a groundswell in the country, including the state of Alabama. The reason why I'm here is because we have created a mob for the good, and you guys are a big part of that. The good news is that we do have a capability. We have the power through which cities and state legislatures have a voice for the lower 80%. We're organizers. We organize in the streets 6 days a week. So we know a lot about what the population is thinking. The issue of politics is on people's minds. Being able to speak truth in a time of crisis when most people aren't willing to do it. That and nothing else qualifies one for leadership, which is not a question of position. It's not a question of influence or money, but at the point that we've reached right now, it is a question of who's willing to tell the truth and act on it. And I think that's something that's going to give people inspiration and give us a pathway out of the crisis. Thank you.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Can you explain this? First of all, I can't actually read what it says. It's like motions, or what is that? To adopt HBPA, what is that?
That is
Wording.
support nationwide for the Homeowner Protection Act. In 2007, this was debated in the legislatures of numerous states, including our own.
It was 2008 data. It's almost 20 years old. So, my opinion, and I'm sure we all have these, and we've got a resident, banker on the council here. But, I see the banking industry as one of the most heavily regulated industries in our nation. Doesn't necessarily mean all the regulations are the right regulations and the proper regulations. There is an awful lot packed into this that would require, I think, a significant amount of study before I think we would even be able to craft a resolution for consideration. So I'm certainly willing to do that. I'm kind of a data geek and stuff like this. A couple things other than the fact that the data that you've given us is quite old. I would also say that, we're not in a depression like Franklin Roosevelt was, so it's a different world. And there are some protections, I think, in there. But, and then, essentially revaluing loans means that somebody is bailing somebody out. And so who pays for that? So there's a lot in this to unpack, I think. So
Well, 2008, 2009 was the part of the housing crisis that you mentioned. So since then, I've had a front row seat to that. So the CFPB is what you probably, have you heard of CFPB before?
I have. I'm not too familiar with.
So basically, they're when all the housing crisis come out, they come out. They're a governing body of basically people off the street that regulate banks and financial institutions. Well, since the housing crisis from that era, the Federal Reserve Bank and the CFPB put in stuff like Dodd-Frank Act, meaning it has stuff in there based on appraisal. So the issue we had in 2008 where houses wasn't I could come out here and say, this house is worth $250,000. Well, the bank will lend on it, not being worth that. And that's where the housing crisis came into play. So you got Dodd-Frank, you got the ability to repay, which the ability to repay becomes into like what we call DTI, debt to income. How much income versus how much debt I got. Well, back in the day, I was a proponent of that because when I bought my house in 2005, I was a young homeowner and I had 100% financing loan. And good for me that it worked out. But the 2008 housing crisis, people were borrowing money that they could not afford to repay back. And therefore, there were foreclosures and all that. So then you scoot up to, you had the Dodd-Frank Act, the ability to repay. You have all these regulations that the CFPB and the Federal Reserve Bank put in the bank for institutions. Now, you have a bank regulatory environment. You have like something we call like a credit union or some type of lender environment. They're two totally different deals. But then you enter to foreclosures with COVID. And I can tell you for 100% certainty, foreclosures were stopped during the COVID crisis for about 6 to 7 years. And then you went into the deal to where modifications. Well, from a banking perspective, a financial institution, the bank does not want to take your home because it costs them money. Because they have to sell that on a third-party market, and it's less than what the bank lent money on. So they want to lend you into a modification. To your point, what you said, hey, what can you pay back? What rate can we give you to where you can pay your money back? Well, now foreclosures have ticked back up in terms of the banks opening that process to where they're still doing modifications, but they're helping homeowners to where we want to keep you in your house and to be able to make our money back. So it's really about, I think the consumer is protected, but also too, the banks have to be protected. If you go into, you get a loan today, you can't walk into a bank and says, well, my name is Ricky Rustin, you remember my dad, and they're going to write you a check. In today's environment, if you don't have the debt to income ratio, you're not getting, that's a car, that's a home, that's a boat, that's anything. So there is a lot to pack in that. And I think the data goes back to 2008 for a reason, because that was a financial crisis that probably, and you have COVID to put on top of that, it's still probably not fully. But, you know, there is acts to protect the homeowner. Matter of fact, with modification foreclosures now, the regulating bodies have put in entities to where if you're a foreclosure on your property, you're a modification on their property, there's ways that they can contact you, there's ways that they cannot. So there's a lot of protection for a homeowner, there's a lot of protection for a financial institution. I think it's a two-way street to make sure we get to a common medium. So a lot of information, I appreciate you presenting it, thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? All right. If not, I'll entertain a motion to